All right, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to class today. We're going to continue from where we stopped the last time. Welcome, everyone. So I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm just going to start. So this is data analytics class, and we've started for like we've done like 2 classes now. The first class, I did introduction to data analytics, where I explained everything about what you need to know on your career path as a data analyst and why it's important for you to be a data analyst today. Because in today's world, data analysts are very, very highly in demand. They are paid very well and they earn good money. So yeah, today is the right time for you to be a data analyst. And it's very easy to become a data analyst because the tools that you'll be using are things that you're already used to, like Excel, like SQL, which you will learn. And it's very easy because it's not as tasking as programming. Going for web development or software development is way more demanding than data analysis. So, and I've also explained what this analysis is all about. I said in my first class that it's all about collecting data, analyzing data, and generating reports. That is what data analytics is all about. It's all about collecting data. So anywhere you work as a data analyst, you're actually going to be exposed to having data at your disposal. So it's either your company is already generating data and they're giving it to you to analyze and they generate reports, or you have to be the one to collect the data yourself by actually scraping some website or going to some places and receiving some feedback or doing some surveys and all of that. So, but there has to be data. Of course, the word is data analysis, right? So there has to be data before there can be analysis. That's the simple truth about it. So the way to analyze such data that you now have access to is we use different tools. The simplest one of the tools, I talked about Python, I talked about R, I talked about Excel, I talked about Tableau, and many other tools that you can use to analyze data in my first class. But tonight, or in the second class, I actually now spoke about that we're going to, because it's a foundational class and it's just some few days, just to get your appetite ready for the actual classes for data analytics, I'm going to focus on SQL, right? SQL is a language for querying databases. And that's what we're going to be learning in this foundational class. Some of you have been joining, some of you have not been joining. So if this is the first time you're joining, we are learning SQL, and we've started in our last class. And what we did in our last class is very simple. We started with the very basic select statements, right? We started with select statements in the first class. And then after learning the select statement, I talked about the fact that select statement is used to fetch information from the database. And I've also explained that databases are made up of tables, right? For instance, in this database that we have here, we have several tables here. We have the patients table, admissions table, doctors tables, province names tables. And I explained that in each table, we have a table in a database is made up of rows and columns, right? So you have the rows and you have the columns. The rows are the records, while the columns are the fields. So I'm kind of doing a recap of the previous 2 classes now, right? So we have the records, we have the fields. The fields are the columns, while the rows are the records, right? So, and I now went further to explain that we have different ways of querying databases. The first one is called a select statement. A select statement allows you to fetch information from the database. You can see it from here. It's used to fetch or select data from the database. And what is the syntax? How do you use the select statement? It's simply the word select. You write the word select, then you will mention the fields or the columns that you want to fetch from that table. And then you use the word from, and then you use the table name. So for instance, if you want to fetch, so look at it now, select column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, as many columns as you want to select from the table name. In our case, we have patients table in this our case, right? So an example would be that you write select first name, last name from patients. What this will do is that it's going to fetch these 2 fields, right? And return all the records in these 2 fields from this table name. The table is patients. So let's try this now. If I click on try now, as you can see, it's going to return all the records, but showing us only these 2 fields that we've requested for from the table patients. Exactly. That is how you use the select statement. So you can mention the fields that you want to return like this, or you can tell it to return all the fields. How do you tell it to return all the fields? You can just simply say an asterisk. So if you want to return all the fields, you can remove the specific columns that you want and put an asterisk. An asterisk will return all the fields in that table patient, and it's going to return also all the records. So let's try this now. So when I click on try now, as you can see, it's returning all the fields. You remember what I said about fields? Fields are the columns. Fields are these columns standing vertically, while the records are the rows. Record number 1, record number 2, record number 3, record number 4, record number 5, and so on and so forth. So the rows are the record, the fields are the columns, right? So how do you return all the fields? Mention asterisk, select asterisk from the table, and it will return all the fields. But if you want to return specific fields, you can just say the name of the field that you want to return from the table name, and it's going to return only that field. So you can see, for example, I've just said select city from patient, and it's going to return only the field city to me. Is that okay? I can also say comma patient ID, for instance, another field that I saw in that table. As you can see here, is going to return the patient ID. That is how you return fields from a table that you want. And don't forget that you can see at the bottom here is actually returning about 4,530 records. Do you see that? So that now took us to the next class where we learned about the where clause, right? So we learned about the where clause in the next class. So what's the where clause? The where clause allows us to actually select a subset of the records, right? So it's more like you're saying, give me some specific columns from this table, but where a particular condition is true, right? So you can say return, for instance, all the records from this table where the gender is female. So you want to return only records that the gender is female. So how do you do that? You have something we call the where clause, right? So you still forget that we've already learned this. This is a select statement, select all from patients, return all the records. But what if you want to add a condition so that it returns only the records where the gender is female? Then you use what we call the where clause. So how do you use the where clause? Just put after the select statement that you have, put the where, the name of the field that you want to, the name of the field where the condition is supposed to search for, and then the value of that condition. So in this case, we are saying where gender is a field in that table of patients. Gender is a field, right? So I'm going to show you. So select all from patients where gender equals to female. So let's try this and see. As you can see, because we said select all, don't forget that asterisk is all. So select all from patients is going to actually select, return to us all the columns because we did all. We didn't specify the name of any particular column in this case. So it's going to return to us all the columns in that table patients, right? The next thing we now did was to add a where condition. The where condition says where gender equals female. So look at the gender column here. As you can see, it returned only where the gender is F, which is female. Let me change this F to M so that we can see the flip side of it. So return all the records from patients where the gender equals to M. Let me try this now. As you can see, it has changed. Did you see that now? So we have 2,468 records for this record where the gender is male. Let's go back to female and try it again. You have 2,062 records where the gender is female. Is it easy? Is this interesting? Do you understand it? That is how you fetch and query data from the database. It's that simple. So we've learned two things today. The select statement, where you just say select, either you mention a specific column from a particular table, or you mention the specific columns you want to return from a particular table. That's the first thing we've learned. And the second thing we've learned is the where clause, where you can actually add a where condition. So you don't want to select all the records. You want to select only where a particular field is equal to a particular value. So let's do something else. Let's say where the city is Ajax. See that we have city Ajax here. So let's find all the records, all the patients that live in the city Ajax. So I'm going to change this field name to city, and I'm going to change this value to Ajax. So we want to find all the patients that lives in this city called Ajax, right? All right, as you can see, there are only 12 of them. There are only 12 patients that live in Ajax, right? That is how you do it. So if you want to, you are already practicing like a data analyst. You can see we're already fetching and finding information from our data set, right? You can already now tell how many people live in Ajax. So if you're given 1 million records to analyze, and you are being told that, can we know how many people, how many of our patients, so let's say this is an hospital hospital database, for instance, and you work in an hospital and they're asking you to advise the management board how many patients or maybe where they should put a bus, right? They want to start helping patients to get to the hospital because fuel is now very expensive in Nigeria. So we want to buy a bus and place it on the road that can help people come from a particular location to the hospital for treatment. And then I'll call you as a data analyst in the office and said, oh, Tinuke or Gabriel or anybody, can you give us the first place? We only can afford one bus for a start. Where do you think we should place this bus in the whole of, the United States? We don't have the city of Nigeria here. So do we place it in Toronto? Do we place it in Ajax? Do we place it in Texas? Do we place it in Las Vegas? And any of those cities, right? So as your job as a data analyst, you can go into the data set and do a find. Find me, where is our patients? Where are they? Where do we have the most of our patients coming from? You can just run a query, select all from patients where the city is Ajax, and it tells you that it's 12 record, right? You can tell it that it should find you those that are coming from Toronto, those that are coming from Las Vegas, and you can know exactly the number of people that are living in those different areas, and then you can advise your board, your management board that, see guys, you are going to get one bus, but we have over 500 patients coming from so place. That is where the bus should be. That is how it works. This is how Instagram is able to know what posts they should recommend to you, because they are reading your views. They know what you are watching. They see the posts you are liking and the things you are staying on. So when you scroll on Instagram and you stay on a particular post and watch that video, the algorithm is able to know that you like that kind of content, and the next time you scroll down, they're going to suggest something similar to that kind of content. That is data mining. That is machine learning. So that is what you're doing here, because you're able to analyze data and be able to make decisions based on those data that you have analyzed. Is that making sense to you now? Yes, it is making sense. Let's go on to the next thing. So now that we know how to find records, something that is very important here is that we need to look at, in this class, the difference between text fields and numeric fields, right? So there's a difference. So if you look at this table that we have here, first name, last name, they are made up of text fields. You see Sue, Falcon, Rick, Mowbray, Kiriko, Basha, all these are text field. Even gender is a text field. City is a text field, right? Allergies is a text field, right? These are all text fields. But we have what we call numeric fields. Numeric fields are like fields like patient ID. These are numbers, right? Let me see, height and weight. These are numbers. These are numeric fields. So you need to understand that when you are dealing with a select statement and you're trying to find something where a particular field is something, you need to, you need to identify whether you are dealing with text field or numeric field. Why is it important? Because if you're dealing with numeric fields, you can simply say where the field is equals to the value, that number. But when you're dealing with text field, it's always safer to enclose text fields in quotes. Why numeric field should not be enclosed in quotes, right? It's very important to note that. So when you enclose something in quotes, it turns it into a string. It turns it into a text field, right? It turns it into a string. So you don't want to house, anytime you are finding something where a particular field is a particular value, make sure if that field is holding numeric numbers or numeric values, don't enclose it in quotes. But if the field is holding non-numeric values, that as in text field or strings, like first name, like last name, like gender, like city, like allergies, like province ID, all of these can be housed in quotes, right? That is worthy of note. The next thing we're going to learn is, let me see if I have anybody in my class that has joined. Where are these guys? All right. So the next thing we're going to learn is very simple. Look at, we have different conditions. We've just looked at where a particular field is equal to a particular value. There are different conditional operators that we have in SQL. I'm going to walk you through for the benefit of this class, and that's where we'll stop for today. We have different conditional operators. We have what we call the equals to sign. So you can select all the records for a particular table, in this case patient, where the field equals the value, right? So it's going to find all the records where this particular field is equals to this particular value. Remember what we did about the male and female something here, and what we did about the city. So it's going to find where the city is exactly equals to Ajax. But there are more conditional operators. What if you want to find where something is greater than something? You have something called greater than. So what if you want to find all the patients where their patient ID is greater than 5. So that means you want to find all the patients that their ID in the patient book is more than 5. If you look at the table here, there's something called the patient ID, right? That's like the serial number of the patients that are in the database, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all of that, right? Let me remove this where clause so that we see all the records in the database, right? So let me try now. You can see it now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. So it's a serial number that is used to identify each record in the patient's table, right? So what if you want to find all the patients that were registered after a certain date, right? Or all the patients that are that their weight is more than 10 or their height is less than 43. That is where we use conditional operator. So we have equals to sign, we have greater than, so you can find a particular number of records where a particular field is greater than a particular number. So you can say, select all the patients where the patient ID is 5. Let's try that, and you can see it's going to start from 6. Or if I say select where the patient, well, let me say where the weight, for instance, the weight is greater than 100. So it's going to return all the people that their weight is more than 100. You can see 106, 104, 117, and about 1,137 results. Can you see that? So let's go to the next one, which is less than, right? So you can actually find where all the patients, where their weight is less than 50. Let's see all the patients that their weight is less than 50, about 699 of them. As you can see, 10, 5, 46, 17, all of them, they have a weight less than 50. So you have an equals to sign here. You can have a greater than here. You can have a less than here. You can have a greater than or equals to. What does that mean? Greater than or equals to means that you are, so for instance, when we did greater than here, up here, where weight is greater than 100, what this means is that it's going to start from 101. If any patient has 100 as his weight, that record will not be part of the result. Why? Because we are saying where weight is greater than 100. So it's going to start finding from 101. But when you do greater than or equals to, like this, you are saying that it should start from 100 inclusive. So it should also include 100. Let's try this and see if we have any 100. Let's go to the next and next. Okay, as you can see here, there is 100 here. So that is what greater than and equals to sign will do. It's going to include the number that you have as the value here, right? So that is greater than or equals to. You also have something called the less than or equals to. It's also going to do the same thing. It's going to include 5. So it's finding all the records from patients where the patient ID is less than or equals to 5, right? And 5 will be included. So it's not going to exclude 5. It's going to include 5. Then let's look at the next conditional operator. We have the not equals to. We have the not equals to sign, right? The not equals to sign means that you want to find all the record that did not match, that is not equals to the value you are providing, right? So you're finding all the record from patients where the patient ID is not equals to 5. As you can see, it's going to find everybody except 5. So it's going to only omit 5. That means everybody except 5. That is what it means. Everybody except number 5, because you're saying not equals to, and you can write this sign in 2 different ways. You can use the less than and greater than sign facing each other as not equals to, or you can use the exclamation mark and an equals to sign to mean the same thing, right? So that is it. And then we have something else here. We have something that has a between. Between means that you want to find where something is in between a particular range. So you are saying select all the records from patient's table where the patient ID is between 4 and 6. Look at it. It's going to return 4, 5, and 6 because you say between 4 and 6. It's going to include the 4 and the 6. Let me change this to 1 and 6, and let's look at that. So you can see it's going to return 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can do a between. You can say between 100 and 105. Look at that. It's going to return that. So that's how you find between a range of data, right? And then you have what we call the like pattern search. So you want to find some records, but you're not sure whether they are between a particular range, or you're not sure whether they match a particular city. We are not sure, you know, the particular value that record should match. So you can use what we call the like. Like is like you want to say, give me all the records where their first name is like Anthony, right? So it's going to search database and give you everybody that looks like Anthony in the database, because you're not sure of exactly the last name of the Anthony you are looking for. So you just say, oh, I remember the first name is Anthony. Give me all the records where their first name is Anthony. Do you understand? And as a matter of fact, I'm not even sure of the full string of Anthony. So you can say, give me where it is like John, for instance. Let me say, give me where everything is like John. As you can see, it's going to return all the John for you. And then even more beautifully here, if you don't even know the full strength, the full stretch of the first name, you can say, okay, I remember the name sounds like Casanova or something. I'm not sure whether it's Casanova. So you can say Casa, right? And then put a percentage sign. So because you're not sure of the full string, the full name, or the full first name of that person you're looking for, you can put a percentage. What percentage we do is that it's going to search for everybody that has a first name that starts with Casa, right? Everybody that starts with Casa, irrespective of what ends the Casa, whether it's Casanova, Cassava, Casa James, Casa whatever. So it's going to just look at this first part, and then this percentage sign means that as long as it starts with Casa, I don't care what ends it, right? That is what it means. So let's start. As you can see, it's able to give us all the Casanova. So let's look for all the ones starting with SA, right? We don't know what ends the name, but we want to find all the patients where the first name is like starting with SA. It's starting with SA. Let's see. Sarah, Sam, Salvatore, Sarah, Samuel, Sally, Samantha. You can see that. What about DA, right? You can see that Daphne, Danny. What about if you want to start anything, you want to look for any first name that has a DA in between it? Because this one, when you don't have a percentage at the beginning, it means that the first name must start with a DA, and you don't care what ends it. But when I put a percentage at the beginning, I'm saying that I don't care what starts it, I don't care what ends it, but there must be a DA in between the first name. Let's try that. As you can see, Thursday has a DA. Miranda has a DA. Wanda has a DA. So whether it starts it or ends it, we don't really care. So anything that has a DA is what we want. That is how to use the like. So like allows you to actually filter out records based on a match, a search pattern match, right? That is very beautiful. It's very powerful. This pattern search is very powerful in SQL, because most times when you want to find something, you might not remember exactly the criteria you should use. You can just say, get it where it's like something, right? So that is it. Maybe where you can say where the city is like, all the cities starting with that has a DA in them. Let's see if we have any. Oh, we have Dundas. What about a CA? Let's see if anybody has a CA, Akansta, Kalisu, Cambridge, all of that. So you can see Calgary. So that is how powerful that like search is. Then the last one before we end the class for today is called the in. So you want to find all the record in that table where it's in. So you know, so you're not sure what record number is a patient existing, right? So, but you want to find where the patient is in, like where all the records that match this number. So you're saying, for example, give me all the patient records that is in 1, 5, 10, 11, 15. So you can list them out, right? So that is how you do it. So you can say where the patient ID is in all of these records. So it's going to return 1, record 3, record 6, record 9. Look at it. So that is how you use an in. So in allows you to mention at a go the IDs or the records that you want to bring out at a go. Instead of finding them one by one, you can just say, I want record 1, record 3, record 6, record 9, record 11, record 67, record 100, like that, right? Or 30. And it's going to bring them out. So that is how you use the word in. So in allows you to, pick, is like specifying a subquery. So you are doing another select in here. So in selecting record 1, record 3, record 6, record 9, like that. So that is what in. So in is like helping you to specify a subquery of what you want to get. So that is it for tonight. I believe you guys enjoyed the class for tonight. So don't miss the next class. Don't miss the next class. I'm going to drop this video link for you to watch, but that is how simple SQL can be. And SQL is very powerful. SQL is what you use to drive Oracle database, MySQL database, SQL database, Postgres, Mongo. All of the databases that you have is driven by SQL. So if you know SQL, you are a super data analyst, right? So, and it's very simple. As you can see, we've just learned select statement today, where clause, and all the conditional operators. Tomorrow, on our next class, we're going to go into the insert statements, where you will learn how to insert new records into the database. I will keep on moving forward like that in our foundational class. By the end of the foundational class, you will be a superstar in SQL. So you can practice this on your own. Make sure you practice on your own. Look at this address, sqlpractice.com. Go there, follow through with the courses, learn with the example. There are some tasks here that you can really use that can help you. So use it to practice. Just look at them and move to the next. You can always move to the next and move to the next. That is how you do this. So thank you for joining. I believe you've enjoyed the class. I will see you in the next class. Peace out, and see you in the next class.